My name is Harrell Noble. I'm an evangelist, and I've been covering Bibles for a little over 50 years. An old evangelist named Paul Black taught me in 1973, and I've done tens and tens and tens of thousands. I wish I knew how many, but I don't. And do a lot of Bibles. When I get a Bible from a customer, it's usually in pretty bad shape, pages coming out, the back off. But there's nothing that can't be made better. And I pray over them every morning before I get started. Ask the Lord to help me, and He does. This is a Bible I got the other night, and I have sanded the back of it off and re-glued it and re-sewn it. It's now in what I call traction. I'm getting ready to take it out of that. Show you what we do.
Sand that to make sure it's level.
Yes, sir. I clamp it between those two boards, sand it on a belt sander, the back, and then I cut across it with a Dremel tool, and then put the pH balance glue on this, sew it back and forth with nylon thread, and put pillow ticking on the back. So now it's ready for me to glue these sides down. And what I do is scrape off any excess glue. That leaves these little nylon threads, so I want to melt those down. Use a high-powered heat gun.
Okay.
Then I'll glue this to this. This is contact cement. Again, dry it.
And the heater there makes it go
Yeah,
a lot faster.
dries a lot faster than normal, especially in this weather.
I'll probably publish this at a later date, but right now it's May 20th or 21st, right?
March.
March, that's what I meant to say.
Then I persuade it a little bit with this hammer. Go to the other side. This wraps around the back of the Bible and gives it a good foundation.
Okay.
Prayerfully, it won't come loose again. Then I score the back of it. Giving my glue something to penetrate. And we'll set this over here to dry.
Okay.
The next step is wrapping foam around the Bible. I'm going to vacuum this off. I don't want my wife to ever know that I know how to vacuum. She'll want me to vacuum all of us.
Yep.
So this is the foam that I wrap the Bible in before it gets leather. And this is the border that I want around. So I begin there. And let me just take one of these while that one's drying. line it up here. Leave enough on this side. Then again, I want to score this. This has already been glued and dried because it's contact cement. They both sides need to dry, and then they'll stick together when you put them together.
Okay. That's not something you find at Walmart, right?
No. I get it. You can get it at Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that. Ace Hardware sometimes. So I want to line that right up back here. I want to leave enough on this side, this piece of steel to lay.
Okay, and that'll be
That'll be the outside border. Mark the top. These are, this Bible I'm working on here is a table Bible, so I'll cover it and put it on the table for sale.
Okay.
And customer Bibles get the leather they want.
Okay.
This one I'll cover in whatever I think will sell.
Okay. Do you do many, I've seen your table, do you do many of the alligator skins?
A lot. Biggest seller.
Okay.
Crockett, the yellow croc is the biggest seller.
You should call it Killer Croc.
Killer croc.
And is it imitation or?
It's cowhide, genuine cowhide with a crocodile print.
Oh, okay.
I can get crocodile, but it's $700 for one Bible.
Yeah,
most people can't afford it.
Well, even if I could, I think I'd just go with the pretend, or
then,
the not pretend.
Then again, I wear this. And this is called a 218. That's a large print. So I know what that Bible is. Now then, this one here is probably ready. This custom Bible. That's your mom's Bible.
Oh, okay. This one right here that you were gluing earlier?
That's your mom's.
All right.
So it's not quite dry, so we'll help it. Should be dry to touch. So we'll line that up and leave enough room on this side.
Okay, for that steel bar.
Now then, she wants a blue color on this, so I'm going to put her a blue ribbon and a black one in there.
Oh, okay.
So this is the point that I put the ribbon in. Now I don't do it on the table Bible because I don't know what color I'm going to put on it yet. Brown Bibles obviously get brown ribbons.
Okay.
Then I'm going to take and cauterize this
Oh yes, it doesn't.
so it doesn't come into.
That's a good idea.
And this gets glued. And the ribbon gets glued. Dries much faster on a black surface than it did on white.
Oh, okay.
Because
Is that the Benjamin Franklin thing?
Ford Ford Motor Company. When he first started, he said you can have any color you want as long as it's black. Because paint dries so much faster.
Okay.
So then we'll put this here.
And his thing was all about the assembly line.
Yeah, his is all about the assembly line. So I'm going to go right back here. We'll mark this. And I wrap it in foam. It gives it a real soft feel under the leather. And it's just something that it didn't happen overnight. I just was looking for something to make that, give it a better feeling. The Lord led me to this.
That's awesome.
And I use roll after roll.
And it doesn't look like foam. Looks like this rubber or something.
Right. It's very similar to what you put in the bottom of a toolbox.
Oh, okay.
Keep tools from sliding around. So this Bible now is ready for the leather.
Okay.
And I know what it is, but typically I'd write the color out here because I have so many on the table.
Okay. Makes sense.
I'm gonna have to get up in the morning.
Okay. Special orders, or is it leather sorcerer back where you live?
Most of it I get at a place called Texas Leather Goods out in Carrollton, Texas. And it's wholesale only.
Okay.
So,
Well, with what you're doing, I mean, you need wholesale.
oh yeah, I buy a lot of leather.
Camera as well.
Okay, so it's important before you glue the leather on the Bible to make sure that it doesn't have any scars or scrapes or anything like that. You don't want that on the Bible. And then that it'll fit on the leather you're going to put it on. So I use a gel pen that's water soluble. I just want to mark basically where I'm going to glue. And then I mark a mark here at the bottom and top so I can go right back to where I've got it sitting. Then I put this up on that.
Okay.
So I'll get glue and everything. And this is contact cement. It's good stuff.
You use that a lot.
I use it a lot. It don't smell good, but it works good.
Well, that's the benefit of watching this rather than being here. You don't have to smell it.
Right, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this isn't the old-timey stuff that people would eat, right?
I don't know.
No one would eat
I've never
this.
had a desire to eat any of this. I don't have a desire to eat any glue that I remember.
I remember seeing like Little House on the Prairie in old movies.
Oh, yeah?
The kids would eat the glue. I don't know if it tasted good back then or...
Can't imagine.
Yeah.
can imagine it tasting good. Let's move this down a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I can get another one in there somewhere. Let's see what I got here.
Okay.
Working all right?
Yes, sir.
It's too small.
Too small. Okay. And in between explaining this, would you tell us your salvation testimony?
Yes, I grew up in a preacher's home. Godly parents loved me, loved my brothers and sisters. But though I grew up in a godly home, I wasn't saved. I thought I was saved, but I wasn't saved. And it wasn't until I got married and my wife and I were listening to a cassette tape. We were in evangelism, living in a bus. And we listened to a tape one night, a preaching tape. And the Lord used that to put us under conviction for salvation. And we got saved that night, August the 20th, 1975. A little place called Paducah, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
If you believe that the Lord would go to Paducah to save people, he did. He saved me. And, of course, we served the Lord in evangelism with my parents. And my dad would let me preach like on a youth night, because I started to preach. And so that didn't happen real often, but whenever we had a youth night, he'd let me preach. And then it got to where he let me preach like one more time in a revival. Usually revivals went Sunday through Friday back in those days, back in the 70s. And then maybe a couple of times a week, the older I got. And then I got in real trouble because he came in and found me praying for him to get sick on his night. I didn't want him to be real sick, just sick enough where he couldn't preach.
Yeah.
And so he told me, you got to hit the road. So my wife and I, we split off from mom and dad, and it was very amicable. It was, except for the grandchildren, they didn't want to see the grandkids go, and the grandkids didn't want to go. So because we traveled together in two buses, but the Lord called us to minister too, and so we split up and had two teams of evangelists on the road. And we raised our children on the road. And we had three children. Our oldest son passed away when he was 9. He was born with epilepsy and died in an epileptic seizure.
Oh.
And but he got saved 8 days before he died, so I got a lot to be thankful for. And our other two children are serving the Lord, and we're glad for that. In fact, our son, our youngest son, our daughter, of course, serving the Lord, but our youngest son is our pastor. And so he's the one that I'm responsible to. All right, I'll go back to doing some other stuff while that dries, because that's going to take a little bit too long.
Okay.
So I'll go back to phoning these Bibles.
Sounds good. Okay.
And in 1999, my wife and I took our first mission trip to the country of Romania. And the Lord really burdened our heart for missions. He didn't call me away from evangelism. That's not what he did. But I put it this way: I've been called to be an evangelist, but I volunteered to do mission work. And so the Lord will take volunteers. I'm glad for that. And so we began going to Romania. We started a foundation called the Harrell Noble Children's Foundation in memory of our son that passed away. And we went from Romania to Honduras to India, and now we're in the Philippines and Vietnam. And the Lord's blessed these ministries greatly. And we're thankful that He has allowed us to do that, to be a part of that. And we didn't want every memory of our son to be a negative memory. You know, he's dead, he's gone, that's it. We wanted every memory to be a positive memory, and now it is, because we're reaching just thousands of little boys and girls because of that. So we're very thankful for that. God's used it greatly.
Wow. Amen. If people wanted to find out more about that ministry you started, a foundation, where would they go to find out or contact?
You'd go to thebncf.com.
Okay.
Thebncf.com. Now, I don't know anything about computers, but my daughter-in-law and my daughter and my wife set all that up. So I don't know why they called it that, but that's what they called it.
Okay.
But there's a lot of information there about what we do. Our next trip, Lord helping us, will be going in October. We're going to the Philippines then. In the Philippines, we have 65 feeding centers. We have 9 pastors pastoring 11 churches. 2 of our guys pastor 2 churches each. And we have a little girls' orphans home on Cebu Island. And we're taking care of a bunch of little girls there. And the Lord's really blessed these ministries. We're very grateful that He lets us do that. It's an honor to do something for Him. An honor.
Amen.
And we take folk with us frequently going on these trips. If anybody like to go on a mission trip, you can certainly go with us.
Okay. Well, be careful. If this goes on the internet, you'll have thousands of volunteers.
We'll have to screen you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. More volunteers, the better off you are.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The Lord can use folk because He uses me. I'm glad for that.
Amen. Any particular stories you'd like to share from your mission trips?
Yes. When we first started going to the Philippines, you had to fly to Manila, and then you had to wait outside the airport from when the plane landed, which was 10 o'clock at night, till 6 o'clock the next morning because the airport wasn't open. You couldn't go in, so you had to wait outside or go get a motel. We just waited outside. And so we took a couple over. He pastored a church out in Virginia. He and his wife went with us. And she'd never been out of the States, never really been anywhere, I guess. And it was all real new to both of them. But we got outside. We met a guy on the plane, real nice guy, Filipino. And so he went and bought us all coffee. Brought it over there. We were sitting outside feeding the mosquitoes. And he brought us coffee. And then he took about an hour and told the ladies the best way to cook a dog. What kind of dog to get, what to look for. And this lady that came with us, she turned green, all kinds of colors of green. And I thought she was going to get on the plane and go back to the States before we even got to where we was going. But he was very sincere about it. And I don't know, I never have eaten it that I know of, but I may have and didn't know it. Who knows? But we've had some great experiences over there. Great experiences.
That's awesome.
We got over there and we have to rent a vehicle to drive, and for some reason we couldn't get the vehicle when we needed to get it. So one of our pastors had a little motor scooter, probably a 125 cc. So my wife and I got on this little, it was a Ruski, I think it's made in Russia. And we went from village to village on that motorcycle, and my knees are up here. She's hanging on the back. It's like 2 monkeys sitting on a football. But the people were calling down the road to their friends because they all rushed out to the edge of the road with their phones and take pictures as went by. 2 Americans.
Oh, okay.
Riding down the road. Oh, you never know.
Yes, sir.
Never know.
Yeah.
Paul had some modes of transportation, you know. I preached last night about him being shipwrecked.
Oh, yes.
We never have had that, but we've had some other experiences. We most of our ministries on the island of Cebu, but we also have some on an island called Negros Island. And so we had gone over by ferry boat from Cebu to Negros to visit these ministries and visit our preachers and stuff over there. And I preached several times. And so I told our guy, our pastor, I said, now I'm going to preach for you Sunday morning. Well, on Sunday night, I've got to go back to the ferry boat and get the ferry boat and get over because we're flying out Monday morning. No worries, Pastor. When they say that, you better start worrying. No worries. So I rented a van. I told them to go rent a van for us and a driver. And so they got everybody in the church that they could get in that van to go with us. I mean, they don't get to go very many places, I guess, and I'm buying the gas and the food and everything. So they just put everybody on there they could get, and that was fine. I didn't mind. But I told him, I said, now, Janelle, don't make me late. And we stopped and saw this preacher, and we stopped and saw that grandma, and we stopped and see that aunt, and it kept getting later. I said, Janelle, don't make me late. No problem, Pastor. We're going to get there. It's okay. And we got to the dock, and the ferry boat was gone. I was so aggravated at him. And he said, don't worry. He said, I'll get us transportation. And he disappeared, was gone for an hour. It's getting dark. And he came back with a pump boat. A pump boat is an 18-foot canoe with outriggers and about a 15-horsepower Briggs & Stratton gasoline engine. And I got pictures of it.
That doesn't sound safe.
No, the life jackets are out on the outriggers, tied out there to help them float, I guess. And we crossed the shipping channel, the ocean, between Negros Island and Cebu Island at night. And it's the scariest thing we've ever done. I mean, you go down between the two waves. The water wasn't storming, but it was just the ocean. Go down between two waves, you couldn't see either island. And when you come up, you could see the lights. And so the guy that owned the boat kept adjusting to get, we kept getting off course and he kept getting us over there. So when we got there, it was low tide and they couldn't get up to the dock. So we had to take our shoes off and get our suitcases up on our heads and wade ashore. Well, I was so mad at that guy.
Wow.
So we've experienced a few experiences.
Was that you and your wife?
Me and my wife, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep. She wasn't happy and I wasn't happy. Before we did that, we had ridden cars, jeepneys, tricycles, which is a little scooter, 100cc scooter with a sidecar, and the yellow buses, which I call Yellow Death, because they kill a lot of people over there. We'd ridden everything. She said, I'll ride anything, but I won't ride a pump boat. And I believe God was up in heaven saying, oh, really? Let's see if I can get you on a pump boat. So she told me after that, she said, I'll never tell God I won't.
Right.
So we learned a valuable lesson that day.
That's when you tell God, I won't go on a vacation trip to Hawaii.
Well, I don't know whether it works that way or not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we've had some experience. Had some experiences here in the States too. It's amazing. If you want to do something for the Lord, He'll let you. He'll open a door. He'll make a way. Get out there and do something for Him.
Amen. Yeah. On that note, in the Bible, everybody God called, they were always working, doing something.
Yep. Elisha was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen when the Lord called him. Mm-hmm. James and John and Andrew, Peter and Andrew, they were all fishing.
Yes, sir.
The Lord called them. Paul was doing something. He was doing the wrong thing, but he's doing something.
Yeah. And Moses was being a shepherd.
Yep. Yep. Certainly was.
Yeah.
Let's see, this blue's dry. It's not, I can see.
Oh, okay. And you can't blow dry that as much, or not blow
I
dry.
can, yeah, I can.
Okay.
And, if I need to, I will, but
It's better to let it sit.
yeah, I don't know what's better, but I can do something else.
Okay.
Typically, I got that fan up there blowing, but it's kind of cool in here.
Yes, sir. What do you think it is? 40 degrees outside?
Yeah, I saw a while ago it was 43 or so.
Okay.
But it's not going to get much warmer than that today, I don't think.
That's another question. When you're on your mission trips, what was the weather like?
In the Philippines, it's always hot.
Okay.
Winter, summer, it's always hot and very humid. Vietnam, every time we've been there, it's been hot in Vietnam too. Romania was hot in the summer and cold, cold, cold in the winter. Like a freeze to death over there. Honduras is pretty much always hot. A place like that we've gone, just pretty much warm.
Okay.
I don't like heat very much, but my wife loves it.
I understand. Yeah, and you mentioned in Romania, you won't know this person, but he's kind of famous on the internet. Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
He lives over there, and he said that it's very corrupt.
Yes.
To get out of a speeding ticket, you just give the guy $200 or something.
Probably not even that much.
Oh, okay.
I know because I paid some speeding tickets.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not speeding tickets, but some kind of ticket. I can't remember.
Yeah. It's easy to park in the wrong spot and then
It is.
get told later.
It is. But it's probably not any more corrupt than things are here in the States.
Right. Yes, sir. While you're working, is there a particular, I'm in the book ministry, so I'm always looking for new books. Is there a book you would recommend? Or a couple of them, either way.
When I feel like I really need a boost, there's a book by, I think his name is Gene Edwards.
Gene Edwards.
And it's called The Three Kings.
Tale of the Three Kings.
Tale of Three Kings.
Yes, sir. That's a really good book.
I'm telling you. I bought so many of them. I buy it, read it, and give it away. I don't have room in the bus for a lot of books. There's just not much room. So when I get a book, I read it and give it to my son or give it to a preacher.
Okay.
Tale of Three Kings. What's a great book.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's about David and Saul and his son.
Yep. Absolutely.
Really good book. Yeah.
Mainly, I just do the Bible.
Oh, yes.
That's my.
Can't get no better.
No, can't get any better.
But like Solomon said, I believe is in Ecclesiastes, much study doth weary the flesh.
Yep. Writing a book, there is no end.
Yeah. And even back in that day, whenever paper was harder to make.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Let's hurry that up a little over there.
With the glue?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Yeah, and another question, what's there might be several, but what's one of the biggest moves of God you've seen in your life?
Biggest moves of God.
Whether in traveling or in the States? or at home?
Well, I've experienced some miracles. I really have. I've experienced some miracles in my ministry. And I've experienced entertaining angels that I didn't know was till after it's over. We traveled by bus for so many years. We're in a bus now, but for 19 years, we just had a Ford truck to pull a small trailer, just an equipment trailer. And I pulled into I hope you can hear over this, but I pulled into a truck stop in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, and flames burst out from under the hood of that truck. It was coming down about where the driver's left foot would be. Jeannie jumped out of her side, and I jumped out of mine, and we didn't have a fire extinguisher. And get this right here. She threw me a bottle of water, and I squeezed that on the fire. That didn't help. It didn't put out anything. And it's hard for me. I'm 6'5" and weigh 200 and plenty. It's hard for me to get in front of that driver's seat and under that steering wheel. And I finally got up behind that thing, and there stood a man with a fire extinguisher. He said, "Here, use this." I grabbed it out of his hand, got back under that steering wheel in front of that driver's seat, and sprayed that thing 2 or 3 times. Finally it went out, and I reached it back to him without looking. He took it out of my hand, and then I got back up under there and looked real good to make sure it was out, and when I stood up, he was gone. And I believe that God sent an angel that, with a fire extinguisher, helped me keep my truck from burning down. I've experienced some miracles that God's done.
Wow.
Yeah. We did Christmas. We had 3 orphans' homes in Romania, 3 orphans' homes and 3 gypsy churches. And we did Christmas over there for our orphans and our gypsy churches. Well, I took, I think, 4 or 5 ladies with us, including my wife, and we went over there to do Christmas, because there's no sense in taking men, because men can't shop and men can't rap.
Nope.
But women can, and they're good at it, and they love it. So we raised money here in the States, went over there and had Christmas for everybody. And so we're coming back. It's about a 4-hour drive from Oradea, Romania, over to Bucharest, Hungary, to get on the plane. And we got over there, and the airport was going on strike at Budapest. So they've got 2 terminals. We went to the first one. They directed us to the first one, and you put all your big luggage in there. Everything goes under the belly of the plane. Then we had to run down the other one. 5 ladies and me. Everything out of your pockets, your belts off, shoes off, then go through the metal detector, then get all that stuff and run back up to the thing, get on the plane. So we got them all on the plane. And when we got to Amsterdam, that's the first stop, I reached up and got my briefcase out of the overhead, and it was too light. Didn't feel right. And I looked in there, and the laptop wasn't in there. And I'd left it at that checkpoint. And I told my wife, I said, "I left that laptop." She said, "They're going on strike." I said, "We'll never see it again." I said, "What was on it?" Because I'm not a computer guy. She said, "Well, everything for our ministry and everything for the Harrell Noble Children's Foundation ministry, everything's on there." And so we got back to the States, and the ladies went to all the different towns and states they lived in, and we got back to Texas. And I don't know how long it was, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, I can't remember. But I preached Sunday morning somewhere, and then we went to Trinity Baptist Church in Fort Worth that night. And we had been around the church a long time, knew a lot of people there, so we just went there to go to church. And a guy named Greg Jones opened the door for us when we went in. And he's a deacon there in the church. And he welcomed us in. We talked a little bit, and so Jeannie went on to the sanctuary, and I started to turn to leave. And he said, "Hey, be sure you lock your car," because it had some mischief out in the parking lot. People messing around in cars. But he said, "We got guards now." He said, "In fact, Carol, that's his wife, lost a laptop out of her car, stole it." I said, well, I have to worry about mine because mine's at the airport in Budapest, Hungary. And this lady walking by stopped and said, well, I can get that for you if you want me to. And I said, well, of course you can. Can't everybody? I thought sarcasm was one of the fruits of the Spirit, but evidently it's not.
Oh, yeah.
And so she said, well, give me your card. So I gave her a prayer card, 2 weeks later, I get a call from the American Embassy in Budapest. Mr.
Wow.
Noble, can you describe the laptop? I said, I sure can. It's a silver Toshiba. You open it up, if it's got any battery left on it, you power it up. It's got a picture of my granddaughter on the screen. And if you open the DVD trail, this is a long time, the tray.
Oh, yeah.
It'll have an Andy Griffith movie thing, it's the only one in Hungary that's got that. And 2 weeks later, by special courier, that thing got at our door, complete and intact.
Wow.
And didn't lose anything out of it. Now, that's a miracle. That a woman,
Yeah.
and I asked Greg when she walked in, I said, who is that? He said, I'm a deacon here. I don't know who that is. I believe God sent somebody along to get our laptop. So I've experienced some things out on the road, some miracles. God's been good to me. I mean, he's been good to me. I've never seen any rocks fall.
Right.
You got up to the mountain and said, watch for falling rocks?
Oh, yes.
I never saw one fall. I've seen them on the ground. I never saw one fall. I'm telling you. If I drove 30,000 a year, that's not a lot of miles. Times 50, that's 1.5 million. 1.5 million miles at least. And God's been so good to us through all that. All so good. Okay, I've got this dry, so I'm putting this leather on. I just want to smooth it on, make sure it doesn't have any wrinkles anywhere, bubbles, and I'll open the Bible up and put this on here, and then I'll cut this out.
Okay. Oh, I know that Bible.
Yep, it's a youth Bible.
Yes, sir.
They call them children's Bible, but I call them youth Bibles because it's more for even young Christians, adults can learn a lot from this Bible.
I understand. I've seen some kids' Bibles. I thought about just buying one of them for myself.
I know.
It has a lot of helpful stuff in there.
Yep. Do you like this one? Do you like some other one better?
I like that one, but there is one I like. I don't know if I could say it's better than that one, but it's at least on par.
Yeah.
It's called the One Story Bible. It comes with the leather one comes with a giant brown lion on the front. And it's got a lot of study notes and pictures.
Yeah.
Some like pictures over the Middle East, pictures of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Some of those things. Pictures
So
of
when I glue that down, I cut it to where that foam is, and that maintains my border around. So this Bible is ready for vinyl. I'll put that on just a minute. Let me fix this one.
Oh, okay.
My wife started out writing a book about our travels and, all the years on the road. And then her computer crashed and she didn't back it up, so she lost all that. So she's been discouraged, but I think she's going to try it again.
Yeah.
She had at least one chapter on places we've eaten.
Oh, wow.
Foods we've eaten. Places we'll never go back.
Right. You didn't get sick, though, right?
As far as I know, we never have. The Lord's been real good to us.
They make programs now to where if she were to, just speak it into a mic,
Yeah.
that it can turn it into words
What about that?
with like 95% accuracy.
That's awesome.
So she could speak it while you're all driving, and then put it through the program, and have to do a little editing, but not too much.
Get me the name of that, and I'll give it to her and see where it goes.
Yes, sir. I'll get you one of those.
All right. Now then, I have pre-cut my vinyl for these Bibles, so I know what I need to do here. Let's see. I need to 218.
Okay. The vinyl, that's what goes on the inside.
This goes on the inside, yes, sir.
Okay.
We've got enough here. I need to cut some more. Let's put one on the black one. This place is a mess. But
Well,
it's a workshop. It's not a showroom.
Yeah, that's what workshops are for, making messes.
So this is the vinyl. This is going to go on the inside. You can put black on like purple or green or something like that, and then brown goes on the brown.
Okay.
And this won't smell very good, but
That's all right. Doesn't have to smell good.
Nope.
Anybody watching doesn't have to worry about it.
They can't smell it.
Yeah. I heard they're working on AI stuff to transfer smells over in the internet, but I don't think that's going to work.
I'm old and I don't trust that stuff.
I wouldn't either. I read too much science fiction growing up to think that that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Once it's cut, you fold it in half and stick it in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm going to glue this, glue the other side, and I'll dry that. It's kind of a touchy thing. You want to get it to the edge, but you don't want to get it over the edge.
Yeah. Takes some finesse, I reckon.
Well, a little experience maybe. So I'm going to dry both of these just to kind of speed things along.
Okay. Another question too while you're working.
All right.
What would be your advice on winning souls and witnessing? Because to get someone's trust, you have to build rapport, but it's hard to do that within just a few minutes.
It is.
So
I think it's important to be real. People can seem like spot a fake or a hypocrite, way off. And if you prayed, that the Lord would send you to the right person, then you got to trust that He's going to. And I think that you've got to be. I want to be excited about what He's done for me. It's easy to be excited about what He's done for me. So when I talk to somebody, I don't want to be droll and down and try salvation. It's always worked for me. I want to be up about something.
Okay.
So when I put this on, it's got to go in this. It's got to go in this. Edge in the center here pretty good, so I got to tuck it down in there real good. And I cut the vinyl at least an inch bigger than it needs to be. And then we'll glue the other side.
It's easier to put on too much rather than too little.
Right. Yeah. If it's too little, you got to take it off and throw it away.
you don't have to get too specific about your own, but what's some advice you would give for finances?
Do what the Lord said. Give him the tithe. You don't give it to him, you bring it to him. It's his already. And then give some more. And whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. Well, you can sow bad things, you're going to reap bad things, but if you sow good things, you're going to reap good things. And so you put the word whatsoever in there, that leaves me the ability to sow what I want. I've sown money because I needed money. I needed more than I had, and I gave somebody that didn't have anything, and pretty soon God blessed. We were in our home church in Grapevine, Texas, and our first meeting was down in New Orleans, around that area, first part of the year, and we didn't have enough fuel to get down there and didn't have enough money to buy fuel to get down there. And so a missionary came through on a Wednesday night, and we had a little bit of money. I don't know how much. It wasn't enough to buy fuel. But we put that in the offering for the missionary. Lord said, if you sow, you reap. And the next morning, one of the men in the church drove a tractor trailer. He come around the church in just a tractor. And he got out, and I come out of the bus. He said, "Morning, Brother Harrell." I said, "Hello, Brother Carl." He said, "You think I could back my truck between your two buses, my dad's bus and my bus?" I said, "I don't think so. It's pretty close. Why would you want to?" He said, the firm I drive for leases these trucks. He said, "I filled this up yesterday, and they're going to take it to the lease company today. There's no reason for them to get all that fuel."
Oh, okay.
I said, "You can do it. You can do it." And he backed that thing in there and pumped our tank completely full, because I sowed the night before, and God let me reap the next day. Isn't that amazing?
That's awesome.
Whatsoever man soweth. You can sow bad things. You can be grumpy and gripey and hateful. That's what you're going to get back. So whatever you sow, that's what you reap. The Bible said give. So whatever you give people a hard time, that's what you're going to get back. Give, and it shall be given unto you. So choose what you're going to give. Choose what you're going to sow. And let God bring a crop in your life. So now I'm trimming this vinyl, fit this face page in this Bible. This one's square, most of them are not. Turn over to the other side.
Yeah, most of them, they like to round the edges, right?
Yeah, this one isn't. Because this one was originally a hardback.
Okay.
The version I get is a hardback. Doesn't matter to me. It costs me less, and I'm going to tear the cover off and throw it away anyhow.
Right.
And I don't typically put ribbons in the youth Bibles. If they ask me for one, I can add one later. It's not hard to do.
Okay.
But the children don't typically care about a ribbon. And then I got these two pieces here, and I trim that off where that'll fit in there. Go ahead and do this side.
Okay.
When you get those trimmed, when you turn the Bible over, it's got a border all the way around it, so I just cut that.
And you're working there, what's some advice you would give to the young people nowadays? I mean, between like 18, 25, or since I'm 27.
Yeah. do not get away from the Word of God. Do not get away from the things that are right. Don't be persuaded by the world. Don't let the world influence you. And it's hard to do because the world wants to influence you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the lines that I'm going to punch the holes in so that I can stitch it. And so I'm just going to eyeball this because I've done tens of thousands of them and I prayed about it. And again, that's a gel pencil. It's completely water soluble, so it'll wash right off.
Okay.
So this is where my stitching is going to be.
And are you going to stitch it right now, or do you have to let it dry a little longer?
No, it'll be ready when I get it punched. I typically go in the bust to stitch.
Okay.
But I can go get my stuff and bring it out here and show you how to stitch a little bit. I have a YouTube video on stitching somewhere on that thing, if it's still there.
Okay.
My wife put it on there years ago.
Do you remember what your YouTube channel is called?
Look up Harrell Noble Stitching.
Okay.
I guess.
I'll see if I can find.
So this is a three hole punch. And this is called the chisel, and this is called the foot. It floats. See where it's, floated around there. So the first one, I'm going to start right in the corner and stay on that line. I'm going to punch 3 holes. Now, I'm going to put this one in the last hole and punch 2. And it goes 2 all the way around. Putting in that last hole keeps it spaced even.
Oh, okay. I imagine you learned that through trial and error.
Well, yes, sir. Start out with a hammer and a punch, and then I found this squeeze punch. This is much more efficient. Follow that line around. You can't buy these punches anymore that I'm aware of. I've looked everywhere. My daughter-in-law found this online. eBay, is that, I'm saying that right?
Yes, it probably eBay is the place to go for out of stock stuff.
Now see that there's not enough room there, so I back up 2 and put 1 in. And I'll back into this corner. You don't start in the middle. You start in the middle when you come back around here, it'll be either too wide or too close. It won't look right. So back that right into that corner. And when you've done it a few times and you prayed about it, the Lord lets you just do it. He said, without me, you can do nothing.
So you thread a leather string in there and sew it in.
I go get my stitching bucket and bring it out here.
Okay, that'd be great.
You'd think all that squeezing would make that right forearm twice as big as this one, but it doesn't. Bodily exercise profiteth little, the Bible says.
I need to partake a little bit of that myself.
But it gives me a good hand grip when I shake in hands.
Oh yeah. That's part of making a good first impression.
It is. Then I want to trim these off. Put my thumb right there and trim around that.
Okay.
So I don't cut into that hole.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate.
Yep. And I got a bottle here.
Okay, to wash off that pin mark.
Yep. I'll go ahead and I'll put a ribbon here, show you how to do that.
Okay.
Typically, if I know what it is, like your mom's, of course, she may not want blue now. I might take those ribbons out. But I'll put a purple one in this one. Just burn this a little bit.
Oh yeah, the cauterize you mentioned.
First of all, you got to find a deacon that wants to be smoking and take that cigarette lighter from him.
Oh,
I'm just I put a little glue on here, but I don't dry this. Typically, you dry this thing. And make sure you got the top. Work just as good at the bottom, but people are picky about that. Let's spread this out a little bit. And ease this down in here. This glue on it.
Okay, that seems pretty easy.
Yep. Tuck that right in there. Put it in there, and in the morning it's there. And I'm going to wipe this off to get this glue off here.
Thank you for showing us how to stick a ribbon in one of those.
Yeah, yeah. So hang on, I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Alright.
The holes I punch are 3/32. So you got a 3/32 needle and 3/32 inch the stitching. So I'll start the back at the bottom, put on enough to get around this end of it. So I go one hole to the left, pull this in so it's even, and then one hole to the right, and then you're going to go right from then on. What this does is it makes an X. There's an X right there, so I'm going to go down between the X, not under your thumbnail. Pull that tight, and then go through an O. So it just X's and O's after that.
Okay.
The right hand pulls the stitching, the left hand keeps it straight. If the left hand doesn't keep it straight, then the right hand comes over there and jabs it with the needle 2 or 3 times, and then the left hand starts doing better. It takes about an hour to stitch one, a little less than an hour to stitch one this size.
Okay.
There's really nothing to it.
You just have to get the sewing pattern down and practice.
Right. And you have to keep the same tension. You don't want one piece real loose, one stitch real loose and the other one really tight. You don't want to pull it tight enough that it'll pucker the leather. It's hard to do this leather anyhow, but some soft leather, it's easier to do that. And then that's kind of boring there, but if you want to shut it off, then when I get ready to splice it, we can turn the thing back on. It's up to you. If you want to watch the whole thing, I don't care.
Okay. I'll ask that other question while you're working.
Okay.
What would you do to improve your church? I know you're not there as often because you're on the road a lot, but whenever you're home, what would you do to improve it?
I think it's so important to be there every time the doors open. If it's a ladies' meeting, of course I don't go. But I mean, anytime it's appropriate, I want to be there. I want to, because I love the Lord, and I'm grateful for what He's done in my life, and I'm not doing it to pay Him back. I'm doing it because I'm thankful for what He's done. And so I want to be there every time, and I want to come with a good and sweet attitude. And I don't care what the day has brought. I want to have a good attitude when I come in the house of the Lord, because you never know if somebody's coming in that's lower than you, and you can be the one that picks them up and lifts them up. So I want to be there every time the door's open. I want to come with a good, sweet attitude. And I want to pray about it before I get there. A lot of folk just come straight from work, and I understand that. But they haven't prayed and asked God to help their pastor and use the message in their life some way or another to be a help and an encouragement to them. There are really nice restaurants, and I've been to a few. You go in, and if you don't want anything to drink, you turn your cup upside down. And I know people that get to church and they turn their cup upside down because they don't want anything from God. They come in with that attitude. But I think if you come in with your cup turned right up, Lord, I'm here, and I want something, use the preacher to speak to me. Whether you speak to anybody else, help me tonight. And if you pray that and you mean it, God will answer that prayer. He will do something for you. I think it's important to come expectantly and come prayerfully. So that's kind of brief, but that's exactly the way I feel about it.
Amen. That's fine. Also, just to give you a little shout out to for your ministry and what you do with the books. If someone wanted to either buy a Bible that you've rebound or ask to rebind one of theirs, what would be the best way to do that?
Just give me a call, and my number is area code 219-670-0247. Probably got a brochure up here. It's got that number. Evangelist Harrell Noble, 219-670-0247. This one has probably been, this is one filled out. Inside you'll see a lot of pictures, different colors of leather we got on Bibles. Also on the back there is a website. Go to noblebibles.com, go to gallery, and you can see a lot of pictures that we've done. And that's the way you can reach me. There's probably a way to do it online, but I am old and I don't know what that is.
Phone numbers and email are still the easiest way.
Yes. Pick up the phone and call me. So now that I've gone around the back, I turn that over and just continue on the front.
Okay. And if someone wanted to learn how to do this, what would be the best way to start?
They've got to come see me. It's pretty hard to do over the phone. I can't teach you how to do it over the phone, but right. I'll teach anybody who wants to know. I mean, the preacher that taught me, he didn't charge me anything. He did it joyfully. He was happy to teach me, and I've taught several, and I'm happy to teach anybody who wants to know. Now, I'll tell you this: if you live in a town and you want to learn how to do this, don't buy thousands of dollars worth of leather and all this stuff, because once you do your families and friends, you're going to run out of customers, unless you have an online presence. I travel every week, so I never run out of customers. So do it, but be wise about it. Don't put your life savings into something that you're going to reach the end of your customer base. That's my advice. But I'll be glad to teach anybody who wants to learn. Now, when I'm running down low on my stitching, I want to splice it. It's got to be spliced, but I want to splice it between the leather and the vinyl. So when I've made that's the last one I can do. So what I'm going to do is, and you never glue out to the edge. If you glue out the edge, you can't get that undone. So I'm going to hold this in this hand, and I'm going to push this down and hold this, and I'm going to come through the top and come out between them.
Okay.
So I'm going to pull that tight. I've got a pair of pliers here that I have ground off the marks on it so that it doesn't leave marks on my leather. Now I'm going to get another piece of stitching. I usually take about 6 foot.
Okay.
then it's pretty curly, so I straighten it out by running it under my thumb over this pair of scissors, forward and backward. And then I want to cut an arrow into that, a sharp point. Like that.
Okay.
Now take the needle off of this one, put your middle finger on top, and then with your thumb, pull this down. It's a two-pronged needle. It's got two little tabs in there. So then when I put this in here just a little ways, get it lined up, then take the needle nose and squeeze down on, don't squeeze the tabs, you'll break them off. Above it and below it. That punches holes through that leather stitching and holds it in that needle. So when I get ready to go, then I'm going to go back between them.
Okay.
And out the bottom. So I went in the top and out between. Now I'm going to go between and out the bottom. So I pull this, but not all the way in yet. Go through the X. And then when I get out here, I'm going to, real careful, pull this in so it's about even. I'm going to hold it, pinch it tight, where I can pull that good and tight without pulling it loose. Then you go through the O, cut this tag off here, and then just continue on X's and O's. Sometimes it'll come loose, but mostly it won't.
Okay.
And then when I get done with the stitching the entire Bible, then I come back, and I'll do it right now, but I come back and you'll be able to see where that splice was. So I take those pliers and just kind of mash that down a little bit to where it's not as prevalent.
Okay.
Now then, let's just so go all the way around. Let's do this. We'll stop right here. And let me take my needle off. I got a bunch of these needles, but I'm using this one. Now I'm going to go back around like I've stitched it all the way around, and I'm going to show you how to close it off. So I've stitched, I've stitched it all the way around. And so let me get another piece of stitching here. So when I charge $90-$100 for a Bible, there's a lot of hours that goes into it, and a lot of, work and material.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I didn't think about it that way, but I reckon it's, work to hour ratio is not the best.
Yeah, no, it's not. But it's a labor of love.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just going to start right in here, and so I'm going to go between the...
One moment. Let me pull out this other camera. It can see a little bit
I'll just
better.
start like I'm starting again.
Okay, that's
You ready
fine.
to go?
Yes, sir. Let's get this one over here. This can zoom in a little easier on you.
So I'm going to go one to the left like I did to start that. Pull this down. Go one to the right. And then through the X. You get a feel for it.
Okay.
So you can splice it as many times as you want to, but that takes up time, and I found that about 6 foot of the stitching material it doesn't get tangled up too bad, and that's about right for me. Different people have different ideas about it, I guess.
if somebody has shorter arms like me,
Well,
maybe
yeah.
just go with 5 foot.
That's right. Just going around the corner. Now when I get about about this distance from the end, what I want to do is undo what I've done. So I pull that out, pull this out, pull this out, take it out to where there's a loop left. Now again, the splice needs to be between the materials, so I'm going to reach in here with my needle and I'm going to fish that out, leaving the loop. I'll cut a little bit of that off. I'm going to lay this up in here and I'm going to stitch that in there.
Okay.
Make sure that lays in there. Fingers are awful dirty, but it's working.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yep.
It's a workshop. You're meant
work,
to get dirty.
I'm a workman. Yep. Just X's and O's, X's and O's.
Okay.
Now this is the only thing that's different when you get right here. When I go the next to last one, there's one more hole. Go the next last one on top, it's the last one on the bottom.
Okay.
So I'm going to pull this through, coming up through the loop.
Okay.
Pull that tight, down through the X, and then back through the loop this direction.
Oh, okay.
Completes it. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to go down between the material.
Okay.
That's going to be my last top thing. So then I'm going to pinch that off. And if you do it right, you can't hardly tell where you stopped and started. Now I take this.
I won't be able to tell at all.
Yeah. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go under here a couple of things right here. Pull this. Get this straight. And cut that off, and then you're done with the Bible.
Wow. And I wouldn't have been able to see that.
Yep.
Where you
Well, that's
started.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I do a quality check. I open it up, see if I've got any glue on. Here's a piece of something here. Then I take the pages, and if I've got any glue on the edge, I ease them down. There's several videos on YouTube on how to properly break in a new Bible or a new book. And you do it this way. 1 page at a time, sometimes 2 pages at a time. Just ease it down like this, and then go to the front and do 2 or 3 pages. There's several videos on there. This is the proper way to break it in. So I'll make sure that none of them stick together and go to the front and do the same thing. Sometimes I do get glue on the edge. And that's the way you do it.
Awesome.
Awesome. I don't know whether I'm awesome, but the Lord's awesome. I know that.
Yes, sir. Well, that's how us the new generation say that something's
Awesome.
cool. Alrighty.
And I've got tons of leather and tons of Bibles, and I enjoy doing what I do.
Amen.
Well, I've enjoyed it, Mr. Caleb.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, it's a pleasure.